Today we're going to get started on installing a foot throttle. Now this is not, in my estimation, a convenience item. This is a safety item. A foot throttle doesn't make you go any faster. What it does, it allows you to keep both hands on your steering wheel while you maintain precise control over your throttle. You know, when you're running 70 miles an hour, you cover the length of a football field in 3 seconds. And if somebody is coming the other way in another bass boat, it's going 70 miles an hour, there's 1.5 seconds of a difference between the two of you. If somebody zigs or zags at the wrong time, you could be in serious trouble if you're close. So what this does, it allows you to back off instantly and turn whichever way you need to go to get out of trouble. But also, when you're really going to use this a lot is when you get in rough water. You know, I do a lot of fishing on Lake Erie and the Great Lakes, and when you get in waves that are 3.5, 4 feet, 5, and I've been out in waves up to 8 and 10 feet tall, you have to drive every single wave or you're going to get swamped. That means you have to power up the waves, you have to let off the throttle when you come down, you have to zig and zag into low spots in the waves all the time while feathering that foot throttle. This allows you to leave both hands on the steering wheel and to maintain exact control. It's very important. The one I'm going to install is the hot foot from Teenage Marine. This is so widely used, the hot foot, that it's become the generic term for a foot throttle. I've used these for years and they've never let me down. I've also going to mount it on a sliding adjustable base. This is also from TH Marine. I've fished with these a few times out of boats that have had these, and it's really slick. These little notches here allow you to move this plate up and down in the base, which is really good. If there's someone you're letting someone else use your boat, they can adjust it. Maybe you got some kids, you know, or somebody else, you can move it back for them. The kit comes with all the connectors you need, all the nuts, bolts, and everything. Now the cable doesn't come with the foot throttle. You're going to have to buy that separately. The first thing we need to do is to mount the foot throttle to the base plate. And it comes with 4 nuts and bolts that allow you to do that perfectly. So let's get that done. Okay, we've got the foot throttle mounted to the base plate. And the base plate has got a couple of grooves. It slides right in here. This key holds the foot throttle in place on the base plate. All you have to do is back this out and you can slide it forward or backward and adjust it even after you've secured the base to the floor of your bass boat. So what I'm going to do is put this right in here and find a spot where it feels comfortable. Now that I found where I want the foot throttle to be on the floor, I need to anchor the base with these screws. Now, I'm not going to drill a pilot hole because I'm afraid I might actually drill a hole in the bottom of my boat, which I don't want to do. These are very short screws. As long as this foot throttle base is on the floor, I know I'm not going to go through my hull. So I'm just going to power these in with the electric drill and not drill a pilot hole, and that'll help me stay out of trouble. I've got the hot foot throttle installed under the console. Now I have to replace the throttle cable. The one that's here is too short. It only goes up to the stick shifter. Now I need to go down to the foot throttle. The basic rule of thumb is to add 2 feet to the length of the cable that's already in there. So this cable, it was written on there, it's a Teleflex cable for the Mercury motor. It was 12 feet, so I've got a new one, it's 14 feet. So I've got the cable. Now I have to disconnect the old cable and run the new cable in there so I can get to the hot foot end to my motor. So we're going to start right here, disconnecting it. I'm going to put the GoPro on here and we'll see if we can figure this out together. Okay, we've got 2 cables coming in here. Here's the one on top, and here's the one on the bottom. The one on the bottom is for the shifter, and this one on top here, that's for the throttle. So we're going to start right here and just back this screw out. See, there's a little nut on the back of that screw, so we'll save that. if you go right down over here, you can see that there's a little doodah here that holds the cables in place, and it just flips back. Okay, so now we've loosened that. On the front of the engine, there are two screws that need to be removed. They hold the bracket that secures the cables and hoses leading into the engine. Bear in mind that this applies to my XR6 Mercury 150. Your engine may have a different process. After the bracket has been removed, you can pull the throttle cable out of the engine. To get to the other end of the throttle cable, you have to disconnect the control box. Removing two screws did the trick with my Mercury Quicksilver control box. I removed the bottom two screws on the back of the control box to gain access to the cables. The upper cable on the left is for the throttle. The lower cable is for shifting gears. Removing a small nut and bolt detached the throttle cable. Once the throttle cable is removed from the control box, you can install a new cable for the foot throttle. Alright, I got my cable disconnected from all the controls, and I need to run the new cable back. So I've attached the new cable to the old one with some wire, and I'm going to wrap some tape around it, electrician's tape. This is going to be tough. These are pretty stiff for about a foot or so, and I've got some tight curves. So I've threaded a number of things, wires back and forth through the boat, but this one could be a challenging one, but hopefully it'll go a little smoother than I think it's going to go. So first thing, we'll tape it up, kind of keep it from catching on anything. I ran the new, longer cable between the outer hull and the interior wall past the control box to the foot throttle. My Mercury cable connects to the hot foot at 3 points. Here, here, and here. After securing the cable to the hot foot, I slid the hot foot back into its adjustable base plate. Alright, I got my cable hooked up to the hot foot under the console, and I've reconnected the new cable to the motor. But to help me adjust it, I'm going to take this cover off the carburetor so I can see when they're open at full throttle. Just got a half a dozen little bolts to take out of here. Already got my bolts out of there, so I can remove this cover. Now I can look right down the throat of the carburetors. While looking back at your carburetors, push the throttle down. Adjust the bolt under the hot foot's pedal so it stops when the carburetors are wide open. Don't allow the pedal to push down any farther, or it will put excessive stress on the cable and the carburetor linkage. Once the nut under the pedal is adjusted properly, lock it in place, and you're ready to enjoy instant throttle response and safer boating.